and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari meets with the Archbishop of Canterbury in London, says he declared his intention to seek re-election in 2019 to end speculation. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu rules out electronic voting for the 2019 elections. Presidential Anti-Corruption Team Chairman Professor Sage demands explanation for the 36 million naira jam funds allegedly swallowed by a snake. An Algerian military plane crashes, killing all 257 persons on board.
On business news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari extends deadline for tax amnesty till June the 30th, asks taxpayers to take advantage of extension.
On sports news, the federal government rewards athletes who won medals at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia.
And from Abuja, National Assembly holds valedictory session for colleagues who died recently.
We begin tonight with President Muhammadu Buhari's explanation on why he declared his intention to seek re-election on Monday, April the 9th, just before he departed Nigeria for the UK. The President gave the explanation while receiving the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby, in London today. A statement from the presidential spokesman, Femi Adesina, quotes President Buhari as saying, "I declared before leaving home because Nigerians were talking too much about whether I would run or not. So I felt I should break the ice. We have many things to focus on like security, agriculture, economy, anti-corruption and many others. We needed to concentrate on them, and politics should not be a distraction. The majority of Nigerians appreciate what we're doing, and that's why I'm recontesting." End of quote. While responding to the Archbishop's concerns about the clashes between herdsmen and farmers in different parts of Nigeria, the President said that irresponsible politics had been brought into the age-long crisis. He, however, offered assurances that solutions would be found and justice done to all concerned. Besides the Archbishop of Canterbury, the President also met with Nigeria's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Mr. George Oguntade, and the Secretary General worldwide of the Anglican Communion, Archbishop Josiah Idowu-Ferran. He's also expected to hold talks on Nigeria-British relations with Prime Minister Theresa May prior to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings scheduled for the 18th through to the 20th. There will be no electronic voting in 2019. Now, that's the verdict from the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission. Today, at a press conference, the chairman of the electoral body, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, gave an assurance that technology will play a major role in the elections, especially in the transmission of results. But he dashed hopes for electronic voting, pointing out that the law does not allow for it in Nigeria's electoral system. Professor Yakubu said technology has placed elections in the hands of the people, and INEC gives Nigerians the assurance that it's come to stay in the conduct of the polls.
The Commission is not deploying electronic voting in 2019, but will deploy technology for the collection and transmission of electronic results. Without prejudice to the manual processes, there will be manual processes, but we'll deploy technology. We believe that by doing so, we will collect, transmit, and declare results more speedily and more accurately. I've been piloting in several elections now on this idea of electronic transmission of results, including the transmission of scanned copies of the EC8As directly from the polling units. But you know, there are two dimensions to this issue of technology: what the Commission can do and what citizens can do in their own right as citizens. We have made it possible now for citizens to be involved, to do what we call citizens' mandate protection.
Now, to take a look at the use of technology in elections in Nigeria in the run-up to the 2019 elections, I'm being joined from Abuja by the Director in charge of ICT at INEC, Mr. Chidi Nwafo. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we know that there will be no e-voting in the elections. That's the ones next year. But technology will play a role. So share with us what specifically INEC is going to do differently in terms of collation and then transmission of results.
Okay. For the collection and transmission of results, what INEC is going to do is that they have to step up the game. What we either do is we manually collect the result and move the result, like if you are working with the result, to the next collection center or next constituency. This time around, we're going to collect the result electronically and then transmit the result from the polling unit to the central server, while the manual will also move in such a way that we not only transmit the figures, we're also going to transmit the image. And that image will now show you like EC81A or any of the forms that are involved in the results. So in that sense, you will have the figure and also have the images transmitted to the central server. And that could change the idea of collection of result, where manipulation happens as we work in the result to all collection centers. So that is the key thing. And again, we're also going to enhance our card reader that we used in 2015 in such a way that it will be better. We're going to do 3 types of enhancement: the process enhancement, the hardware enhancement, and the software enhancement, such that some of the issues known to the public and even known to us.
All right, sorry to cut in.
We do hope that with that.
Yeah, sorry to cut in. I can hear the plans you're talking about. Is this something you're in the process of planning in this last 3 days we've been having the conference, or is it being set in motion already? We're in April, and you're talking about something that you're going to deploy across the country for next year. Is this feasible?
Okay, let me start with the card reader. We used card reader in 2015. We have been enhancing it as we speak. We're going to use the enhanced card reader for Ekiti and Osun State. For the e-collation and transmission, we started piloting since 2013-14, even before 2015 election. And after 2015 election, we have been piloting it to see some of the issues. As we see issues, we solve it. So we've been working on it for those past 4-5 years. And then we do hope that we'll perfect it to use it in 2019. The conference is to look at all what has been done in some West Africa and some South African countries, and some people that have used it, even to the extent of electronic voting. So we're sharing experiences and looking at the issues and challenges of how it was used in African countries.
Okay, now looking at the challenges, deficits in IT infrastructure, not just the hardware now, the ICT, the card readers that you were talking about. There were issues of network, connectivity. People were going to the polling booth with water, powder, and different things to make the card readers work. Did the conference discuss our peculiar circumstances, not just the hardware as well?
You see, that's why I use the word that we're doing the enhancement. There's a process enhancement, there's hardware enhancement, and software enhancement. The idea is that we've used it before. We have seen some of the issues. Let me say this, the card reader as an equipment is doing very well. However, the usage, the operators, and some of the fingerprints that are there may not be the... So there are a lot of issues we're trying to solve. So these issues with the enhancement will be done. In terms of e-collation and transmission, 2 major issues, not equipment, because we're running in terms of the software that we design, but in terms of communication, the network coverage, and the security. In terms of communication, we're working with NatConsult and the NCC to solve the problem, and we're almost getting there. So all this we've been working for all these years. We've been working to make sure that 2019 is better than 2015.
Okay, then let's look at from the perspective, finally now, my question to you, from the perspective of the electorate, those participating. I know you've been talking about from the perspective of the umpire. What do you do about the complaints you're having with the PVCs, the registration, etc.? Did you talk about that and looking at the time frame that you've got left?
Of course. The registration, you see, we started doing the registration Since 2010, 2011, we've been updating. And so some people go to the field, even if they have registered, they go back, but we try to use the duplication to remove them. We have done all the stages. We have done first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, but the cards for next month, which is May, we start distributing it. So we've improved on what we have before, and we do pray that from next month and next 2 months, all these issues about PVCs and registration will come down, and all the little issues will be solved. So we have been on PVC, we have been on registration since 2010 and 11, and we have had experiences, and we solved some of these experiences. We also have some issues like equipment and so on, but we do believe with time, all this rush will come down.
All right, Director
in charge. PVCs will be ready from May. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Director in charge of ICT at INEC, Mr. Chidi Mwafo. Thanks for joining us on the News at 10 tonight. The chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Professor Ishe Sage, has asked the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board to explain the 36 million naira allegedly swallowed by a snake. Professor Sage expressed his concerns on the issue during a working visit to the office of the board in Abuja. The registrar of the board, Professor Ishakulede, appealed to the committee to be thorough in order to promote transparency and accountability.
We read recently of some members of staff, I would say at a lower level, who accumulated a lot of cash and did not properly account for it, leading them to make very absurd defenses.
I believe that with your committee, we need to really work on the nation in such a way that so similar things. I've been in public service for some time, directly or indirectly, particularly at the university level. But my 2 years here had been more stressful than cumulatively my previous years, because in the university, yes, there are corrupt people. There are corrupt incidences, but I think we overblow and exaggerate that when we get into the larger society, we will be shocked at what we will discover.
And there you have the Lagos State Police Command uncovering what it calls an illegal brewery in the Ikorodu area of Lagos, Nigeria's southwest region. According to the police, the factory has the capacity to produce adulterated malt and alcoholic drinks. After the inspection and sealing of the illegal factory, the Commissioner of Police, Edgar Imohimi, advised residents to take more interest in happenings around them.
Looks very much. Right here we have an illegal distillery. We have taken a tour of the place. You can see for yourself that here stout, malt and ethanol is being produced here illegally in very unhygienic conditions. Those that are producing it are not qualified to do so, are generally giving out poison to the people of Lagos to drink. And what is most worrisome is that they are now bottling it and canning it like as if it is being produced by reputable companies that deal on these products. We are going to take samples of each of the various drinks being concocted here, the fake brews being concocted here. We are going to give samples to NAFDAC and samples to the DNA lab on Lagos Island for analysis. That is number one. Number two, this place, as I speak to you, is sealed, completely sealed. There will be no further activity here. Number three, the suspects will definitely be investigated further.
In part two, after the break, 4 persons confirmed dead in fresh attack in Benue State, just as Governor Otom asked youths in Benue communities to defend their homelands from attacks by suspected herdsmen. That's in a moment. You join us again.